Hey everyone, thank you for tuning into Fire Chicken Reviews, and we're going to be talking today about two Keyforge spoilers for the upcoming set, Winds of Exchange. So if you don't know this channel, I cover all kinds of different gaming stuff, a lot of gaming tokens, some board game reviews, a huge board game table that I recently reviewed. You can all check that below in my other videos. But you came here because you want to see some spoilers for Winds of Exchange. So a little bit of the introduction aside, what happened for the backstory for this was I reached out to Ghost Galaxy when they took over the IP for Keyforge. Said, hey, I would love to do any type of content creation or anything really. And they came back and they said, hey, well, you want it? We'll give it to you. So they gladly sent me two cards to spoil for you. So of course I'm going to draw it out a little bit and hype it up before we get right into it. So moving on, the other thing I want to talk about is I'm also part of a Keyforge team. That's just my team logo, but the A team. As a Canadian, I find it hilarious, but enough about me. So, like I said, Keyforge Winds of Exchange on GameFound, you may say. Hey, yeah, so if you didn't know, you can check out my other video saying that Ghost Galaxy acquired Keyforge from Fantasy Flight. So I won't go into full details about that. Totally recommend checking that out. But the only reason I bring this up at the beginning of the video is that if you subscribe to the campaign, and it's free, all that happens is that you get emails sent to you talking about the updates for the campaign. What it also allows you to do, though, is that if you subscribe and then you eventually decide to go with one of the pledge structures, you potentially will get a free gift, as they say. So you'll get a deck of Keyforge. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. You can be like me and one of the other 7,642 people that are interested in this. So I'm pretty excited. So Winds of Exchange, 6 set of Keyforge. Let's get into it. Let's talk about some spoilers with the. But hey, this isn't a spoiler. This is just an artist. So the two spoilers. The reason why I bring up this artist in front of me is that I want to give a shout out because both of the cards, a little bit of a spoiler to the spoiler, are drawn by this gentleman here from Madrid, Spain, which is a spot, if you didn't know, I actually went to before. Very nice. Totally recommend going there. I went there with my spouse. But check out his art station, and I'll also be linking some of his other art stuff if you are fancy this gentleman's art. Speaking of which, here is some of the art that he's drawn. You may notice that this is from a recent Fantasy Flight Games Game of Thrones game that just came out. I believe it's like Bixit. I'm butchering the names, very hard to pronounce. Legend of the Five Rings, and a few other games here. So very interesting art pieces that he has. And he's also covered some Keyforge art. He's drawn for 3 Keyforge cards that we know of so far. So I'll be showing those really quickly. The first one that we have here is that he drew a piece of art for Final Analysis. I love logos, by the way, and great card, interesting destruction cards here. And so yeah, he drew the art for this. I will say that the spoiler cards are not in-house logos. And then he drew another piece for Star Alliance with the Grand Alliance Council. Not a card that I've often used, but I will also say that the spoiler cards I got is not from Star Alliance. And then he drew the art here that you see for Unfathomable. And going with the repetition, the spoiler cards I have is not with Unfathomable, it's not with Logos, and it's not with Star Alliance. So they decided to give him another piece of art to draw, and we're going to be diving into that. So what could it possibly be? So here it is. He was given this beautiful piece that he put together. I just love Keyforge art. As some of you may know, I've actually, with a friend of mine, have covered quite a few different Keyforge art pieces. But just showing the art for right now. So it's for those that are unfamiliar, this is a Sauron card, clearly, which are like basically dinosaurs within the Keyforge world that are back in like Caesar, Rome times, which is super cool. And I just want to pay attention to the detail of the art first before we get into what the full spoiler of the card itself is. And I love what you're seeing here. So you have this king here that doesn't look too happy, that's handing off his amber to this knight, and then you got these uh, all these troops in the background. And speaking about these troops in the background, these dinosaurs, for those that like little Easter eggs and whatnot, they remind me of these ones here, because they are basically the same dinosaurs, but I think they're a different legion because the shields are different. But yeah, it reminds me of this card here, drawn by different artists here. But I thought that was a fascinating little Easter egg potentially, or it's just maybe I think all dinosaurs look the same. So getting back to it, what could this art piece be? So sound off in the comments. You can pause here if you want, or you can keep going until we get to the spoiler. Do you think this is an action card, an artifact card? Do you think it is a creature card? And I know that for those that know card structure, they'll be like, well, clearly it could only be these type of cards. But hey, just a fun little thing. What do you think could possibly be? Unfortunately for myself, I have spoiled because I've looked at all the cards already. But let me know in the comments before you continue forward what you thought the cards were, and then if you were surprised what the card was. So going forward, though, another thing I want to mention here is that this also reminds me of a recent show I'm watching. I'm watching the prequel to Game of Thrones, and it reminds me of these guys here. And for those who are unfamiliar with Game of Thrones, what this group is called is they're called the Golden Company, and basically it's like the Iron Bank of the Game of Thrones world, where they say, "Hey, we're the bank, pay us, and our army will join you." So I just thought that was funny. Here's a closer up. I love that they're also using spears and whatnot. And this is all going to hint to both of the spoiler cards. So this Golden Company, and in the Keyforge sense, this group that is being paid to do some sort of services. So you want to see the spoilers? Let's get into it. Here's the full card. Training costs. And it says you cannot choose to discard training costs from your hand. Wait, you cannot choose to discard training costs from your hand. This is an interesting mechanic that we haven't really seen before. And it says play lose 2 amber if you do not shuffle training costs into your deck. So what is going on with this rare card? As you can see, when I say rare, it's because the star symbol means that it's not a very common card. Rare, just like you would have in any other card game, means that it's harder to come by. But when it does show up, it has this card. And why would you want to have a card with all these negative attributes to it? So, for those that don't realize, what this means is that say your opening turn, you got this card in your hand, you can't discard this. You can't. What you could do though is that if you choose to play the card, uh, basically, if you don't have 2 amber to lose, you have to shuffle it back into your deck, which just sounds brutal. I think this is going to frustrate some players, but there must be a reason for this, right? Yeah, but I do like this flavor text, and this flavor text might give some hints that says the warriors are worth their weight in amber. So whatever this card is associated with, they're saying that these warriors that we haven't seen yet must have their weight in amber. So clearly, I'm hinting at something, but we'll get to that later. But focusing a little bit more on this card before we get to the second spoiler. What an interesting card. So this is one of the few times that you have a Keyforge card that is just it's purely negative. All of the abilities on this are negative, so you can't choose to discard it, which means that it's clogging up your hand. Um, so I am curious, and I'm very interested in the ruling that when your opponent forces you to discard a card, I'm assuming that this is one way around this because you're not choosing to, you're being forced to. And there's a variety of cards that will force opponent to discard cards. but you can't openly choose to do so. So I think there's going to be some facts for this card, because there's going to be some clarity that needs to come out, and hopefully they may already have this like before the set is released, so it just clears it up for those who are unsure. And then the playability is straightforward. Lose 2 amber if you don't shuffle it. So if you really want to have a chance to draw through your deck, what is kind of frustrating with this card is that maybe you can play it with no amber, but then you're shuffling it back into your deck. So even though the reason why you would do this is that you're looking at trying to draw a different card. Well, it's a gamble, because now you just shuffled your deck into this. But getting into some card theory here, what's interesting about this card is that there may be rare occasions where you want to lose 2 amber. So there's some cards out there for those who have been playing Keyforge for a while, where potentially you've put yourself in the position where you have enough amber that based off of your opponent's board state, or if you played a card that allowed you to see what's in your opponent's hand, you know that maybe they have something like too much to protect, or other ways where if you had more than 6 amber, for example, that you're at a potential risk. So maybe you went to 8 amber, you can now play this card, go down to 6, and because you lost it, there's no funky or funny things that can happen with this. There also may be cards in the set which I'm not aware of, but there might be stuff where it says when you lose amber, gain this ability. So there may be some pros to this, but I mostly just see this as a negative. And the same with the shuffling of your deck. There may be some rare cases where you want to shuffle your deck, and in doing so, you're like, hey, you know what? Um, I don't have amber to lose, but I can shuffle my deck. But all in all, those are all fringe cases. What this card is meant to be is clearly it's meant to be a bad card that you don't want in your hand. So whatever the other card is, I do hope it's pretty useful, right? And let me know what you think of this card. I think it's a fascinating card that all I see is negatives. Doesn't have any bonus pips here, so no amber or anything. Can't be discarded, forces you to potentially lose amber, makes you shuffle it back in the deck if you can. Wow, very interesting. So the next card that is connected is this beautiful piece of art, again by the same artist, and this piece of art is wonderful. I love this piece of art. It reminds me of a certain type of warriors, one of my favorite warriors out there, and I think my next slide here, or maybe my slide after this as well. Just a quick spoiler is that this is who it reminds me of. Spartans, for those who aren't aware. And so let's look into this card fully. And this is the other card that is connected with the first one here. So they're called the Bellatorian Warrior. And I apologize if I butcher the name. They are a 5 power, 2 armor token creature, which we'll dive into what token creatures are here in a bit. And their traits are they're a dinosaur and they're a soldier. A single Bellatorian is worth 300 normal soldiers, and they cost as much too. So clearly, I linked, showed the image of the 300 Leonidas image there, and this is what it clearly reminds me of. I think there was an image of him standing like that in the movie, but I couldn't find it before putting this up. But I love this token. Like, this is clearly a very powerful token creature. I don't think there's any token creature that we've seen so far that is more powerful, and I don't think there is going to be any token creature more powerful than this. So again, at 5 power, at 2 armor, this is pretty crazy. But you may be asking, what's a token creature, and what's going on here? Well, we'll get to that here in a minute. But before I get into that, I forgot that I put up on my next slide here. When it says that it's worth 300 normal soldiers, I remembered this line here. And you can pause here. This is directly from the 300 movie if you want. And I just couldn't link in the little video because I'm not great at editing. Otherwise, I would put that in and don't want any copyright issues. But I love this little line from the movie. But again, what are token creatures? Well, this is what they are. So if you go onto Ghost Galaxy's webpage, which I will be linking, they explain in details what token creatures are. But basically, for every deck that you buy of Winds of Exchange, it comes with a guaranteed token creature. And it says, with one of 28 possible token creatures and the reference card for the token creature, for example, they show this token creature. And what is interesting is that Ghost Galaxy and FFG, when they originally designed the card, decided that the token creatures were going to be the actual back of the cards. So the article I'll link will discuss that in more of detail. But that's an interesting mix, and I could go on for a while about that. So I'll leave that as a separate video where I'll discuss about that in more detail. But it's very interesting. I haven't really seen card games use the back of cards as the token creature versus having a separate token card. So we'll see if that remains the way. But yeah, like I said, I can go on, so I won't. So very strong, powerful token creature, 5 power, 2 armor. It doesn't have any abilities, and I think most of the token creatures won't have any abilities. But when you look at the card that were previously spoiled here, it makes sense that that card has such a strong negative, and this one is such a powerful creature because this doesn't seem like a token creature at all. This seems like I'm going to have 300 of these guys, and hopefully I can get out 300. Spoiler, you wouldn't be able to get out more than 36, and I have no idea how you would get 36 of these token creatures in play because that would be your entire entire deck. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think this is gonna have lots of utility, and it depending on how you can make token creatures within the deck, I think this is just a strong body, right? It's going to do a lot of work, and it's going to act as a very strong creature. And what's interesting is that since currently, with the rules as written and from what they have spoiled, well, not the rules as written, but what they have spoiled, they mentioned that since token creatures are taking the top card of your deck and placing it face down, coming in exhausted, of course, um, you're also allowed to see what these cards do. So what's going to be interesting is that not only do you have heavy hitters, but since you can see what these cards are, you can decide to say, hey, this is a really powerful card that I actually not lost but turned into a token creature. So what I'm going to do on my following turns is I actually want this card to go to my discard pile. So you'll probably start thinking of unique and interesting ways of removing some of these token creatures and hand building your discard pile so that maybe you have way of uh, going through and cycling through your deck and only having the cards that you want, or putting into your discard pile specific cards with and using other cards like action abilities that allow you to return those cards to your hand, or character ability or unit creature abilities that allow you to return those cards to your hand. So it's going to be a unique set for sure, and an interesting way of cycling through your deck. So I want to talk about some previous cards in other sets, and so like I said, so that's a five. The token creature is a 5 power, 2 armor, and here you have another creature from the Sauron house, and this is a full-on creature from a previous set, and it's only 4 power, 1 armor, also a dinosaur, also a soldier. So you can see like the mean average for a creature. It's not 5, not even for regular creatures. There is a lot of creatures that are 5 and above, but even within the same house, like obviously this creature here is a little bit has a little bit less power and less shield, but it has a unique ability. But I think we're going to see some interesting stuff with this, especially with that 2 shield. Like 2 shield is nothing to laugh at. Here's another interesting mix that bring up is the Senatoris Rex. Again, another dinosaur, another soldier, and this card here is going to link very well with the token creatures because it's going to turn all those cards. Because this card, when you read it, says you may exalt it. If you do, ready each friendly card. So that includes token creatures. And for all intents and purposes, as far as we're tracking so far, um, token creatures do count. Anything that would affect a creature also affects a token creature, which makes sense. It's a little bit different than previous games that I've seen use tokens as miniature creature cards. But I think if this card is reprinted, because we're not sure yet, if this card is reprinted, this and the token creature combination could be fairly devastating. So I want to talk again about training costs here. So like I said, this is a high negative card, but we just had that very high positive token creature. And so this reminds me, I think it's on my next one here, of Toad. So Toad's one of my favorite cards just because he looks so sad, and realizing the spoiler or the Easter egg of who Toad is, if you read that flavor text, is pretty funny. But yeah, it reminds me of Toad. So going back, trading cost reminds me in the fact that it's a card that is pretty useless most of the time in your deck. It's not anything you're going to use. Like, why would you want to put down a toad? It can do 1 damage, and in this case, train cost is even worse off. Right? It's just a bad card, but it's one of those examples where it's connected to a good card. And in this case, Toad is connected to the Blood Shadow here, which is a very strong, very powerful card. So very much a similarity between the two of having the cards connected. And I love how Keyforge is able to do that. But wow, what an interesting card. And what's also interesting is that we have a new symbol, and I believe this just means token. And because we haven't seen this symbol in the bomb before, they'd like to use different symbols for different things. So this is card number 233. I believe that means it's a token card. That just represents what set, and of course that's saying the artist. And it's interesting that it also says that it still has the copyright by FFG. I'm assuming that Ghost Galaxy is going to change that to copyright Ghost Galaxy instead, but we'll see when the cards get printed, because these were the cards being spoiled. So there's still potential chance that some minor changes like this will change, and of course it will have the name of your deck on the bottom right hand corner here. So just some other interesting facts. So this is a card from a previous set, which is, I don't think I've ever gotten this card, but there's been questions about will you be able to take token creatures, and yes you could. This says take control of an enemy creature, and again this is from it's from Dark Tidings, I believe that symbol is. So it explained why I've never seen it, because I only have so many Dark Tidings decks. And it says take control of an enemy creature with amber on it. So since token creatures act like creatures in all senses, as far as we know, they can capture amber. So you potentially could take control of an enemy token creature. And why that's important is that even if you're playing with previous sets, uh, you'll be able to take your opponent's token creature, and from what it looks like, there may be a just a standard token creature, so you don't actually take your opponent's card. But that the ruling on that has to come out, so I am curious how that's going to work. But it is interesting that for all intents and purposes, even for taking control, you'll be able to do that with your opponent's cards, even if you're playing with a different set. Another interesting one that I thought, again, just because I was linking some of the dinosaurs together, and the soldier cards. I just linked this one, and again, this is another fairly powerful Sauron card. Again, 5 power, only 1 shield. So when you compare that to the 5/2, it doesn't have an ability, but it's basically 5 power and 2 regenerative health, basically, because shields regenerate at the end of each turn, right? So that's pretty interesting. No ability, but what I think is going to happen is that there's going to be cards within the set. And again, this is all theory. I have no idea. I think there's going to be cards that say all your token creatures gain +2 power, all your token creatures gain this ability, and because you won't have a crazy amount of them, it'll just be interesting synergy that will go throughout the set. And because the set Winds of Exchange is focusing on this mechanic, there's just going to be some fun stuff that's going to go with that. So again, just checking that stuff out. So lastly, I wanted to end because I know you've been with me for 25 minutes, so I think everyone that has listened to me blabber on for that long is that if you want to find out more about the Keyforge news that Ghost Galaxy has, I'll be linking their website. They do have a newsletter. My critique of the newsletter so far is that there isn't that much that has been coming out from it. I find that I'm frantically refreshing the web page on the Game Found and their own page. For whatever reason, I'm signed up for the newsletter and I'm not receiving all this information. It's probably because they don't want to bombard people with just regular updates, but I think one critique I would like to see going forward is that when they do update their webpage, I would like to have that in the newsletter. And if I think it's too much, I would like to unsubscribe, just because I'm very excited, like many people are. So you can check out that newsletter. Just enter your email. They do send stuff. That doesn't mean that they don't, by the way. They do send stuff. I got information that on the update on the Game Found campaign and stuff like that. But just that uh, current weekly information hasn't been going through the newsletter. So just a small little critique item that I noticed with that. And I think the intent probably going forward is that the web page is going to continue to have more and more. So they're probably saving it for those bigger items. So that's just a small little thing. But I'll link to their website so that you can go to the newsletter. And the last thing I want to end on, of course, is again, Keyforge Winds of Exchange. The intent of this is it's coming out sometime in September. I will be refreshing the page probably every other day until it does come out because I'm super excited. I definitely recommend hopping on, trying to be one of the first 10,000 so that you can get one of these free decks. They may have slightly more than 10,000 decks available, so they didn't say their final number, but yeah, definitely show your support if you love Keyforge, even if you're going at the lowest tier, whatever that is. I recommend checking out the campaign and seeing what's going on. I'll be doing a full review of once it goes live of what I think of the campaign, with obviously the spoiler of it that I'm a massive Keyforge fan. I'm automatically gonna back no matter what because I definitely want to see this game succeed. But I'll save most of that for another video. The main thing is that Ghost Galaxy took the got the rights for the IP for Keyforge. Many of the community, including myself, are super excited about this, and the main point of them doing this is to see how much interest is left in Keyforge. And I can tell you that when they went to Gen Con, they had big tournaments, over 100 people show up. They had the Keyforge Adventures, lots of people playing that, and they were surprised. They're like, hey, wow, there is a lot of interest and a lot of outreach and a lot of people interested. So hopefully this campaign does really well. And let me know what you thought of the spoiler cards yourself from House Sauron there. And yeah, keep on crushing out those keys. So if you like this video, you can consider giving it a like, subscribe to the channel, and checking out some more of my content. But feel free to let me know what you thought. And until next time, I'll see you in the Crucible. Cheers.